Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack three topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
Welcome to Simple Minds podcast, episode 24. We're a couple man down again today. We're missing Hato and Marco.
Life keeps getting in the way.
Hand down.
Champagne.
I thought
I'm
Marco was
Justin.
bringing his dad today. You can't, because he's not
What?
here.
No,
Yeah, hang on. No, that must be next week.
next week. Let's settle down. Justin here hosting. I have to my left Mr. Matt Hanham.
I'll reverse things this week and go, Saab.
I don't know, that sounded really, really weird.
That did. Doesn't have the same ring.
How do you say Saab? You do it.
So,
Okay.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's a bit more throaty.
yeah. We have Mr.
Organic.
Conrad Francis
G'day.
and Michael Duncan. Hello. So today I have, what drink do we have? I have a Balmore Islay,
Ilo.
single malt Scotch whiskey.
From the
12
island of Ilo.
12 years. No real story behind this. No, there's a little one, I guess. I wanted to
real
get something
story.
that's slightly a little bit special. I thought we've had a pretty significant month here in the studio, so I thought I'd bring the celebrations through to the podcast. I did want to get a Japanese whiskey. We were briefly discussing this prior to the podcast, but the liquor store was pretty piss poor and had no options.
Do you want to
So
name the liquor store?
no, we shall not name the liquor store on the
They should
podcast.
get Japanese whiskey.
Yes, they should. So I just picked a 12-year, never tried it. So we're going to give it a crack. I need to...
So what makes it special?
What makes it special?
Why did you pick this one after the Japanese?
Must have been the colour.
It's alright. It's pretty. It's
got a good colour.
Can I get a photo, Mike?
Scotch and Scotch.
The Scottish holding the Scotch.
There was no particular reason, to be honest, other than 12 years and
You
the
just said it
and
was
the-
kind of special.
and the
but
dollar
I
value.
get it.
No, the specialness was the dollar value and the celebration.
Okay, so it's
That's all.
it's expensive.
Question, why didn't you go the 18 years?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
They probably didn't have it.
What were
This
you?
was like second shelf from the very top. They don't have a very wide selection.
What were you doing 12 years ago, Justin Bourn?
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Actually, they were all at a workshop conference yesterday, and they asked, "What were you doing 30 years ago?"
Bloody hell!
So
I was barely a thought.
that's
you were
right.
a thought. Justin didn't exist.
12 years ago.
Justin was
very much
swimming
a
around
thought.
in his dad's manhood.
Yes, I
No,
was.
he was. He just slung it back, mate, waiting for the call up.
12 years ago, I was still in high school.
There you go.
12.
Yeah. So
Did you have a girlfriend?
Yeah, did you?
no, I didn't. Not at that time.
How old were you when you had your first girlfriend?
What?
Right, real
no.
girlfriend, like you held hands and stuff.
Can't remember.
22.
Can't remember.
V's not
Here we
going to
go.
tell you off. She's put the ring on.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
You get
Thank
that
you.
answer out of you. Salute.
salute.
2 cubes in each as well. I like it.
It does have an interesting colour though.
Oh, and Petey, I told you. G'day, Petey.
On the eye, warm amber. Breathe in subtle lemon and honey.
It's lovely. It is lovely.
It is quite
Good
nice.
pick.
Worked out well.
Better than
I
that
like
crap
those-
Hato bought the other day that I was listening to that podcast on.
Oh, the,
Chocolate
the
milk.
milky stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Terrible.
Yak milk.
we hadn't had a whiskey in a while, so that was part of the other
No, I
the
like
other
it.
thought process.
That is really
Because we were
nice.
gone whiskey's hard for a bit there in the early days.
I don't
We've
think
had
you
a
can
bit of
ever
a
do
break.
whiskies too hard though. There's
true.
so many of them.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've got to do a Japanese one though. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll do that next one. If I,
The wood-
whose turn is it?
The weather's getting cooler too, so, you know,
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
of
yeah.
whiskey, warm you up.
Or a hot toddy.
Yeah, you
maybe
can
in
go
the-
next.
A hot toddy.
Hot toddy.
Midwinter.
Let's go.
Put it away, mate. Hot toddy. Jeez.
Well,
Let's do it. No, we should.
A hot toddy. Okay, you can
Come
do
on.
that.
let's get into it. So today we are doing. Actually, we've mixed it up a little bit today. We had for the first 23 episodes, a rule of not sharing content. This week, we decided to share the content. So
Hopefully we're a bit more prepared.
We did our homework. So let's see if we can get a little deeper on that. Michael, over to you. I'll let you do the honours to introduce it.
No worries. This is a topic and a bit of content that I've been wanting to bring on the podcast. I've been threatening to do it a few times, and it is
Threatening.
threatening.
I don't recall receiving a threat, but
There was no threats made. But it's about philosophy.
Surprise.
But it's one of the most, actually, it's about Plato, or it came from Plato, who is probably one of the founders of what we would call Western philosophy, who studied under Socrates about 400 BC, or around about that time. And actually, we talk Stoicism every now and again, and a lot of the ideas in Stoicism were born from the Socratic philosophy, obviously from Socrates, so there's a nice little connection there. But one of his most famous pieces, which comes from his book, The Republic, I'm looking around here just now, and everybody is on their phone. What's going on out?
Mate, we don't have enough people sharing our content. So if you're
Fair
hearing
call.
this, please share.
Not at all. Okay.
Nice try.
So yeah, this piece is called The Allegory of the Cave that I want to talk about today, and it's from, as I said, from Plato's book, The Republic. And it's an allegory, I suppose, is like a story or a fable, is a little tale. And it's something he used to, I suppose I was going to say promote's probably the wrong word.
It's a
but
message in the story, right? An allegory.
Yeah. To talk about, because he was obviously, Plato was a philosopher, and the allegory of the cave connects what he thinks philosophy is about, I suppose. And there's a lot of political turmoil in his time, and
we had to hide it.
yeah, and philosophers were looked at as sort of strange beings who overly thought things and
Still are.
yeah, well, exactly, which is a really interesting point. They are today, yeah. They are today. But this allegory, this little tale sort of talks about that and sort of explains it from a kind of life perspective. So the allegory envisions the world as a dark cave. Human beings are trapped as prisoners, and all of our experiences are nothing but shadows on the wall. So these prisoners are shackled, facing the wall at the back of a cave. And this is all their life, all they've seen is this cave wall. Behind them is a fire, and in between the fire and the prisoners, there's a walkway. And on that walkway, the humans pass, and they show puppets and shapes, and they are obviously cast onto the wall that the prisoners are looking at. So all their life, they've only ever seen things as shadows on the wall. So I should have kept reading this because I went off my bit of paper here, off script, and I've got myself lost. So this is all they see, and they think this is amazing, and they play games, and they praise each other for guessing what the next shadowy figure that comes across. Although they don't know them as shadowy figures, this is their real life. This is everything they see. But lo and behold, after a little bit of time, one of the prisoners breaks free, and this is the representation of the philosopher. So the prisoner breaks free and escapes from the shadows and escapes the cave and comes out, follows the light and comes out into the sunshine, and is initially blinded, but his eyes slowly adjust. And he starts to interact with real forms. He sees the sun shining on real objects and real forms and starts to understand, and his eyes are opened by what is really there, the power of the sun. But lo and behold, that was the last part. So blind by the sun, it starts to adjust and sees and interacts with real forms and real objects. Philosophers are brave enough to leave the familiarity of the cave and explore the real world of light. But feeling sorry for his fellow prisoners that he left behind, the freed prisoner actually goes back into the cave, and he tries to explain to these guys like what's going on, like the real things out in the world. But guess what? They think he's completely nuts, and they get angry at him and tell him to go away and go back to your wherever you think you've come from. But he does try to persuade them, but they choose to remain where they are. So I suppose that the question is, what does this actually mean? I know the allegory's bleakness is really meant to be a sort of motivational piece more than anything. It's the breaking away of your shackles and diving deeper into philosophy and thinking about stuff, and not just taking everything.
Motivation as opposed to what he believed the obvious was. I don't think he was trying to motivate you as opposed to teach.
But it's not that obvious, because he's had to break free of his normal life.
But it was his truth, right?
Well, it wasn't his truth. No, he's going out. Well, it is his truth. His philosophical journey is seeing the light, I suppose. I suppose you could say it's like that sort of saying. You've finally seen the light, whereas a lot of people are still shackled, are still seeing what they just want to believe is real life, maybe. And it's about the philosopher's journey, and what.
See, I don't even know if it was a philosopher's journey. I mean, whilst it was his story or his truth, I believe he believed it to be everyone's truth.
You think he did believe it was everyone's truth?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
I mean,
but
it was his truth.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe it was told as a motivation as opposed to a statement of obviousness to himself.
Yep.
And give an opportunity for others the opportunity to see that easier or earlier.
Yep.
That's how I took it. Because I don't know how something like that, particularly in the way that the day and time was written,
Yep.
would have been motivation as such, as opposed to something that's probably more scary.
I mean, that's the way the story is told, to be sort of bleak and miserable, and sort of show maybe what it's like when you don't think or don't try and break away from convention, I suppose.
Yeah. So it gave more light and shade to what life was acceptable to be thought of.
Yep.
So turning yourself towards, or seeing that the truth existed towards the light, not towards the dark.
Yep.
Was as simple as that.
Yep.
However, the real truth is that to see the light, it does take a big decision. It's like trying to see the positive in every situation, right?
Yep.
It's a choice.
Yeah, definitely.
And once you make the choice, you don't generally tend to want to go back.
Yeah.
But as he puts it, he couldn't go back.
Well, it's the isolation discussion, right? Because the majority of people will still sit in those different lanes. And what was it, the two? Was it ignorance and... In the video, they drew 3 lanes, I think, in the video, and what was ignorance. I don't think it was ego, ignorance, assumption, something along those lines. And the third lane was obviously more down the awareness path.
Yep.
And the majority of people will still sit and want to stay in those lanes, like you say, like the people that were in the cave. I don't know whether it's so much a dark and light, but it's just an adjustment of perspective, right? And to look at things
But this is what
differently.
Michael and I were talking about earlier about the half-wise quote that comes to mind straight away when I watched that, is that once you become aware that the path towards light, well, you can't, but you can try and dull it down by not taking action and acknowledging it. But that's where that half-wise phrase comes in. The half-wise will be thrashed against rocks by reason of their own folly.
Yeah.
Because once you become aware of an alternative and not take steps towards it, you're not going to be able to see life differently again.
But even that, what happened was he became aware of it and then tried to share that, but there was no interest from the other side in understanding. So I think
because
he was trying to set them free.
Yeah, because they were comfortable with what they knew.
Correct.
And they didn't want to know otherwise, and then turn in the what is it?
Allegory.
Allegory. They went hostile against him, and
Because he
They
had
didn't
these
want to be
new
helped.
ideas, and
there is a video which we'll share as well,
Yeah.
which is good to watch.
yeah, definitely that would be in the show notes.
Because they added another element with those 3 lanes of how the majority, the guys that are shackled, can't be self-governed either, as in take control of the self, and they do need that, which I guess is interesting going on 2,000 years, how society runs.
Yeah. Well, as you said at the beginning, even philosophers or people that think differently this day and age are kind of not laughed at, but there's doubt that that their ideas are valid, or and I think most of the progress in human existence has come from these people that have broken away, that have looked at things differently, that have thought heavily. And this is about education. This is about educating yourself.
Well, is it about education or is it about a documentation type process? And I think this is maybe where Conrad was going. So that down the track, let's say 2,000 years later, Michael Duncan can stumble across this passage and basically, does it validate some of your thinking, Mike? I mean, do you read that and provide yourself with an attachment to someone else who was somewhat like-minded?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the connection with this story and where I sort of feel I relate to it comes from. Is the last few years I've taken a much deeper path of thinking about things, not just letting things happen not just observing something and say that's whatever it is and not questioning it, I suppose. So for me, that's where, I've questioned stuff. I think about stuff. I mean, we've had discussions on the podcast before where I talked about like the Matrix style stuff where, are we in a simulation now? These sort of ideas, which most people would laugh at and sort of think you're a bit of a strange.
Can I just try and talk to the symbolism of it succinctly?
Yep.
I'm not sure. You guys know I'm a Freemason? So
yes.
You didn't know that?
Yes.
So Freemasonry obviously has a lot to do about symbology and history.
Yep.
And that dates back many, many, many thousands of years. And I guess just succinctly, the symbology in this piece, the allegory contains many forms of symbolism used to describe the state of the world. The cave is a symbol of the world and the prisoners who are those who inhabit the world. The chains that prevent the prisoners from leaving the cave represent ignorance, meaning that they interfere with the prisoners seeing the truth. The shadows cast on the wall of the cave represent what the people see in the present world. Last, the freed prisoner represents those in society who see the physical world for the illusion that it is.
Yeah.
That's as simple as it is.
Yep. And I mean, if you want to look deeper into it, Plato talks a lot about forms, the idea of form versus... which they talk about the shadow. So
that's the illusion, right?
Yeah, so a person walks past with a duck, right?
Yeah.
And that shadow is cast onto the wall.
Yeah.
That person may call that a duck, but it isn't a duck.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. It's the shadow of the duck. So he doesn't really know what the true meaning is. So I suppose it's a search for truth more than anything. But is that not our plight on this planet? Of course.
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, once you've maybe switched your thinking to questioning and trying to discover knowledge,
exactly right.
that's the key. Well, I think it's the key. I think
questioning is the key.
But it's hard. It's a hard road to go down. I'm not even close to even going deep on that. But it's something I think will, through my life from now on, and have done over the last couple of years, is really work on.
Well, let me paint this picture to you, right? A real life scenario, and without naming names, a situation I have is where a friend of mine was made redundant after 10.5 years, contracted a prostate cancer which he had surgery on, picked up a job which he's just been made redundant from again inside a 3-month period. Now, I just had lunch with him and we were talking about things happening for him and not to him. Now, is that not looking at the cave one way and the cave the other way?
Yeah, I mean
the illusion of playing the victim versus the truth of the opportunity.
Yeah. You can see something and then just that's happy to stick with that idea and stick with that and not even think about what the alternative might be.
And I'm excited by the opportunity that's presented to him. Yet I can see that he is scared.
Of course, yeah, and it's fear. These people then mocked this guy that came back into the cave because he had a different idea about something.
Yeah.
And I think we're all guilty of it.
It's crazy that, right? So I watched this the other day. I've known it for a little while. I sat there for lunch and going through this conversation with you guys. I'm thinking that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Now, in my conversations, I'm trying to shift him towards the light of opportunity, as opposed to the darkness of the illusion.
Yep.
And it's so hard to do.
Ignorance just leads to
bliss.
The darkness of illusion, which is bliss to the majority, because they don't know any wiser.
Yeah.
As well.
And,
that's what the cave... that's what the story referenced to. If you've just been seeing these illusions all your life, you think that's what it is, and it is what it is.
Well, see, and this is the reality. The conversation that will happen was... what has started to happen with me and him is that, he's been my friend ever since I was 13 years of age.
Okay.
He's seen my journey. And I've said to him, mate, you've seen the challenges I've faced. And whilst in the moments they've seemed like massive challenges, upon reflection and by comparison to others, they're insignificant. But I've used them for me.
Yep.
I think on a sidetrack, which is super interesting, is that, you know, we get caught in the cave in thinking things like, you know, money will equal this. If I do this, then I'll get to that, because of all those illusions you've been fed in the cave through
your whole life. Yep.
And even then, when we're at this, I guess you can call it a workshop. It was more of a bit of a sales pitch with a bit of value added to it, but. You know, it's the same things over and over, and yet the lot of it does lead back to the same elements. And I guess this is that which is coined of, like, you know, YOLO. There's this term called woke. You know, he's so woke. You know, and that's the opposite of looking outside the cave. You know, that's that trendy, so woke and aware of spirituality and all this
about
stuff.
woke, right? Sorry, cut you off. But, like, the thing about, I feel like, and even in this example, there's a trigger, and because I think that is part of the point. Like, something happened. I think what in the story, I think
He got set free.
He got set free.
Yeah.
He
Right, so
unshackled.
he didn't set himself free.
No.
Right, so what happened?
He got set free.
And then he went back to the
He
others.
broke
and
his
tried
shackles.
to set.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
No, the shackles just were opened.
They were opened.
He got set free.
He was set free. So I think that's actually a really key point in the consideration, for consideration, because he got set
Yeah, so
free.
there was no force of exertion.
So, and in the situation you just raised, like, a major challenge is actually a setting free moment, as far as I see things, whether that's an illness, whether that's a redundancy.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to the others and tried to set them free, it was a situation, they were able to overpower him setting them free, whereas in his situation, he was just all of a sudden free. And I think you are all of a sudden free, often off the back of events. Like, my view is, I wouldn't call myself a great philosopher or anything like that, but my view is I started to adjust. Thank you. I was setting that up so you would say that to me.
You're my chosen philosopher, Mike. No.
Michael Matt.
Michael,
I was trying to say Magic Mike, and I went for Mucka Mucka.
Too many M's.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
There's like, I feel like there was a moment for me where I started to, no matter what I then knew thereafter, I started to question. And
that's interesting.
To ask those questions, and that was what did it. So I needed something to happen to me.
So can I take the pre-story to the redundancy?
The story or the pre?
The pre-story to the redundancy. Mucka Mucka. So
Roger.
Yeah.
It's Matt. Yeah.
No, it's now Mucka Mucka. So in this pre-story, he didn't want to be there anymore before the redundancy came. So as I see it, the redundancy set him free, but he still felt the victim.
Yeah, of course, but it could.
It's crazy, right? No exertion. So no exertion to be set free, yet you still feel the victim when you want it to be set free.
Well, what's interesting is the other guy's still shackled, probably don't feel like a victim.
No.
Yet they're chained up.
They were all laughing and joking and playing games. And
they were going to beat the other guy to death, even though they're the ones in the shitty situation.
Well, we talked about this example this week. So Marco, who on the podcast last week mentioned that he was resigning from his job on Tuesday.
Which he has done.
He has done and followed through, at which point everyone else around him...
Go, Marco.
So much love.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone around him
team up.
congratulated him. So they don't want to be there. They stayed there, but they congratulated him for leaving.
And yet his situation,
I wish they could.
His situation from the outside is probably going to get worse. No, will get worse.
It already is worse.
It already is worse.
But he's seeing the real form of his life.
Correct.
So he's turned around.
He's been set free.
It's interesting point of the.
I'm blaming Michael.
Interesting point of the philosopher who goes out into the light, sees the real form of things, comes back in.
Tries to explain it.
Well, he can't adjust his eyes back to the cave.
But
so
you can't.
Exactly. That's a really interesting.
This is what really pisses me off, because when I see shit now, I've got to say it.
Yeah.
And that's why I have these come to Jesus meetings.
So you'll say the truth, but people probably think you're nuts, Conrad.
They have the opportunity.
Think you're a dick.
They do have the opportunity, and that's why these guys are my mentor and stuff. It's really funny, right? Because they can tell me stuff, and I can see the trend, and I can call them out.
So woke.
And then they say, oh, but this is happening and that. I said, it's great that you've seen it. I said, I've been seeing it for a few weeks now.
But we were also guilty of still being shackled in certain ways, all of us.
Not me.
It's not shocking.
Fuck off, Mike. Don't go tar me with that brush.
He's got
the fuck. You can put yourself if you want. I ain't there, bro.
There's a cross hanging around his neck. He's not shackled.
No,
I'm not accepting that, Michael.
Free. No, we all are. To
Michael,
small degrees.
Michael.
Small degrees.
Michael.
You're shackled by a pair of headphones right now.
I'm not shackled.
Yeah, but
These melon pants are.
have you got your anchor under your arm or what?
Come on, lads.
You're half wise.
I ain't not half wise. I might be half stupid. I ain't half wise.
Well, going with that then, though, even though we won't have Conrad in this part
Sorry,
of the
we'll cut out
conversation.
that 60 seconds of
We won't have
Go back to
Conrad
the
because
class.
obviously Conrad is fully unshackled and has seen the light and needs to
He's
be
woke.
wearing sunglasses all day.
All day, every day, twice on Sundays.
Matt and Justin, where do you think you may still be shackled
Are
in
we
life?
giving them
Where
a
you
scale?
what of your?
No, there's a 1 to 5, being
Like
5 being really
0
shackled,
to-
and 1
Well,
being
actually, yeah, why
0
not?
to Conrad.
yeah. 0 to come to Conrad.
Can you just say why again?
Why?
No, he didn't say it properly.
Why?
I really enjoy.
Why?
He whispers that, right?
Oh no, he does that. It's brilliant. It's really good. It's a signature
It's
move.
like the PT Meadows of Scotland.
I just can't.
Where are we
I can't speak
shackled?
with that.
Yeah,
that-
I think we all are, even though Conrad thinks he's not.
He keeps on saying it.
You're shackled
I
to
can
this
hear
earth, bro. To this universe.
Not when I go to sleep, because I can transcend.
Into a unicorn.
But I guess it is to what reference point?
Yeah,
What's
definitely.
What is 5?
every reference?
What's 5? Is that who'd be a 5 to you in terms of an individual?
I'd say Gary Vee would be close to 5 or 4.8.
As in unshackled.
Unshackled. He's
Yeah.
shackled quite strongly to the New York Jets, but I think somebody like that runs his own life and thinks his own way, and is it?
How the fuck do I not think my own way?
Well, we're not talking about you anymore, Conrad.
I'm surprised
No, you
with
do.
Gary Vee. In fairness, I'm surprised with Gary Vee. I would have looked at people like
Yeah, I thought you were
the
going
Dalai Lama or
Peterson.
or
Jordan
even-
Peterson, yeah,
even,
yeah.
Peter Peterson.
Jordan
Well, he's a modern day philosopher. That guy. He's
They're still shackled by, right? Because they're still shackled by a lot of traditional, well, not traditional and about. Just,
well, religion to a degree, as you said
Well,
about the
religion,
cross, is
even just
a
like-
form of being shackled. I think.
Well, Jesus Christ was.
Well, religion.
Yeah.
Religion's an out.
Well,
is
everybody
having
is, because
a
if you
traditional
weren't-
family unit is an
Yeah,
element of
of
being
course,
shackled.
yeah.
It depends
I don't
on.
have a traditional family unit.
No, you don't. But I'm talking about Gary
I was
Vee, who
delivered
was
to my
his
family
first
by a
choice.
milkman.
You were delivered by a milkman. No, you were conceived by a milkman.
No, I was brought to my house. I don't know who conceived me.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Is that actually true?
I keep telling my mum that.
So you
She doesn't
conceived by a
disagree.
milkman.
She reckons I was found in the bush.
Okay.
That's why you woke. But I think definitely over the last couple of years become more aware in general. And I think we have referenced it, which we touched on before, that it can be challenging at times. You know, sometimes grass is greener. Ignorance would be bliss with some of these challenges.
Yeah, yeah.
When
You
has
know,
the grass ever been proven to be greener?
but it's not. But it's more of, I think we talked about, like, sometimes it'd be nicer not to know some of these things. I need to unsee that now.
It's
yeah.
unfortunate that you cannot see Justin's face at that moment.
Like, we've talked about it. We touched on it again.
Because it
know?
gives you an emphasis to keep pushing. Yeah, I think once you do open up a.
I think it also helps you understand that, like, the bullshit that goes on and the amount of energy and effort that people waste on pathetic things is exorbitant.
There you go.
And, like, you can see people get worked up over bullshit that just doesn't matter.
So when,
Yep.
when you flip that and you use the energy towards the greater good, when people go, where the hell do you get your energy from? Because I don't waste it on that bullshit.
Yep.
You know, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. It's just so easy. And so...
Mucka Mucka, what are you laughing at, Mucka Mucka?
Mucka Mucka. It's a new nickname instead of Magic. So
It's easier to say.
I would definitely say over the last couple of years become more aware, but still shackled. There's still a lot of...
Well, there's two types of shackles as well, but I might say. I
There's
think
those fluffy
there's.
ones that you can buy in the adult shops.
This is
Don't-
degenerate.
I don't mind those
you,
ones.
You import them, don't you? No, I think there's look, I certainly think I make choices as well. Like, so I think there's certain things that I find are constraints to me, and other ideas, examples, say things that are just general.
So
and-
define a constraint that your missus is not going to slap you over the head for.
Oh, well, you've just said my wife and kids are one constraint.
They are not a constraint. You can't. No. I disagree. They might be a perceived
It's not a constraint.
They. I believe
They're a societal construct.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying
Not
it's a
them
construct.
personally, not as a human.
They make me better.
But
What I'm saying is
how are they
that's
constrained?
well, I'm talking about like, okay, what is it? I'm looking at it. You're calling it light and dark, but I'm just saying in this context, I see dark as just like the traditional path and method. And so I'm saying there is aspects of the traditional path and method that I absolutely have 100% made a decision, and that's how I want to do it.
Yeah, but you'll say your family, if I can understand constraint, and when you define family, is time.
Yeah, a little bit. Constraint's probably not quite the right word in how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at traditional versus looking at things differently. That's how I'm approaching the black and white.
Was Plato what?
Married.
Maori?
Married.
So
married.
He was Greek.
But I'm saying...
Was he Greek? I didn't
I don't think he was married.
So what is there any... So if the majority are in the cave looking at the illusions and one of them is set free, what do you believe is a path or something that could enable you to...
Questioning.
Questioning. Just do you think that's just the one thing that you got to do?
That is a path to starting.
Yep.
Yeah. And then asking better questions.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, that's what we do. So as entrepreneurs, for example, right? So as entrepreneurs, I think, because let's call it politicians in particular, people that are leading our countries, for example, are actually employees.
This actual whole allegory was based on a political setup with Plato. He wanted to break. He wanted to. He thought he should rule because of his thoughts and his thinking, and he thought philosophers should have a much higher level in society.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
And so the way I see it is there's a lot of politicians, and a lot of that can be self-serving. It's not always self-serving, but they're not necessarily in the right position to make certain decisions. So what I see is we've got the mass or the majority of humans.
Interestingly, Plato never married.
Okay, really not relevant to my point, but
I was just talking about constraints. Sorry.
Look, what I see is there's the majority of humans. And the majority of humans, we love to just get onto autopilot. We love to just keep doing what we're doing. I think that's what we do. Then
it's easy, isn't it?
The girl runs out of the cave. They do something different. Let's call that an Elon Musk, or let's call that whoever. They go and look at things. They change something. That change occurs and improves our entire society in one go. But you need those people to run out and start making outlying decisions. Generally, we want to just have a community, engage, and gradually that community is improving. But I think you're right. There's a differentiation between people, I guess, who are leading and driving the countries and our globe. The truth is that's really the entrepreneurs, the one. But then I don't mean a lot of us. I mean the real entrepreneurs. Let's go to space. Elon Musk. Let's Richard Branson. This. Let's build it. Let's build.
I'm having a massive problem with
Conrad Francis.
Fuck that.
And apart from those three guys, are clearly at a level that I can't match.
Dude.
You're constrained, Matt. You're way constrained.
I'm not pretending, just for the record here, Matt.
I just put you in.
He says wearing a WA number.
I earned this. I didn't pretend to get this either.
Distracting.
No, you did.
Anyway,
you were the coach, yeah?
The point is that entrepreneurs are doing it.
No.
You're not a real entrepreneur.
I don't like the word entrepreneur, to be honest.
Oh, God.
I don't.
Justin, are you a real entrepreneur?
Whoa.
Are you pretending as well?
I don't like that word. Yeah, I'm a entrepreneur.
I'm talking about the extreme 1%.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them a real entrepreneur, mate. That just means somebody that pushes harder than somebody else. That doesn't...
Again, okay. I'm talking about the tip of the spear in terms of what an entrepreneur can do. The 1%ers, they're the ones that go and change something substantially for our entire organisation or society.
They believed in something that has never been done before. That's all that is. That doesn't make them any more real than anybody else. It makes them more determined than somebody else.
I agree. So what I'm saying is they are the ones that don't look back and accept any constraints whatsoever, typically financial, whatever it looks like.
Well, within reason, they have resource, right? I mean, fuck, if you had the resources, I'm sure you could think a lot of things a bit easier as well. That doesn't make you any better or any different.
No, I think it
makes you well-resourced.
I think one of the big things is their risk profile, and they'll take like risks that I could not tolerate.
But I think the difference here is the pushing the boundary in thinking, in whole new ideas.
Exactly.
In whole new ideas, not just a new product or a new.
But this is what you're trying to say. You know, Musk and Jobs, Musk believes he could land a rocket. Musk believes he can put a battery in a car. You know, these are new areas that have not been exhausted.
Yeah.
All right. So I get that. Jobs believed that he could put a computer on everyone's desk. That's what he believed.
Yep.
So I get what you're saying. I'm just questioning the term real.
Oh, okay. When I say real, I was talking real, extreme. I meant the top.
Extreme, yeah.
But the tip of the spear for that. And I think we still I don't sit at that tip. I sit in a space where I question. I wouldn't say I'm not way out into the light, and I'm certainly not in the cave. But I sit, and I think a lot of us sit in that space too. But I'm saying people outside of the cave.
I'd love to have this conversation with you off the mic.
Let's do it. Let's do it now. Go.
No, I actually don't believe that how successful somebody is determines where they sit in the cave.
Oh, not at all.
I'm not talking about success. I'm talking about people that are like I make change for people. I improve people's lives, but
you know there's an alternative to a certain way of thinking, right?
Yeah, of course.
So you see the light.
Yeah, I do. But I'm saying saying there's people out there outside the cave that are the 1%ers that are making extreme difference.
I don't believe in Elon Musk and his success determines where he fits in the cave.
Why?
Okay, so Steve Jobs, right? Ideas man.
I'm saying
no. Steve Jobs had a very, very devout belief of Hinduism, right? Now we've just said that any belief in a religious structure dulls the light.
I'm trying to think of
I don't agree with that. I don't think a religious
Well, we just
structure,
said that.
I don't agree that it dulls the light. I just think it's a.
It has to.
No, because
it constrains your thinking.
Depends how you choose to look at it. I think it's all about perspective.
No, that's bullshit.
It is, because I think you can make
a decision. I agree.
If you want to hang out in the cave, but you understand everything different, then that's a choice. It's a different way to look at things. But what I'm saying is
your beliefs in any way, shape, or form towards a structure in society limits your ability
to
see the complete.
Does have a point.
I'm trying to think of
because I mean that's the point of it, right? Because you believe that the shadow on the wall represents X, Y, or Z. So any of those beliefs, you're still half within the cave.
Yeah.
You know, it's once you're out of the cave, your perspective on everything has changed. Absolutely
everything.
Right.
The illusions that society has given you have dropped.
Any illusion or any constraint or any framework that.
And I go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
All right. I listen to scripture. Do I believe Jesus Christ exists? I do. Do I believe God exists? No.
Ooh. Mic drop.
All right. I believe what God represents exists.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, and I would agree that.
Don't listen to this episode, Mum.
And I would agree, success has nothing to do with whether you're.
Success is a constraint. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I think it is.
Success is that you've got a great idea, but you don't monetize it, and bang.
But what's the definition of success? Is success that little shadow on the wall that you say, "Oh, that's success"?
Yeah,
that's
success or achievement.
But what is it? What actually is it?
Can be a shadow on the wall.
Can be exactly.
It can be a shadow on the wall.
Because if you're trying to hit the masses which way they're looking, you have to project it onto the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's called advertising.
That's right. See, now we're pulling apart society.
So financial success is a shadow on the wall.
No.
Yes,
the output of financial success could be a shadow on the wall.
No.
So what about the shadow on the wall of
striving for
unless you know the truth,
the
ultimate
truth.
Exactly. What is that?
So what about the shadow on the wall of our next topic?
Conrad.
Let me just finish with this quickly, which I really
Wrap
like.
up.
I really like this sort of
good topic, Mike. I like the
allegories. So what does it mean? So quickly, the allegory's bleakness is really meant to be motivational, to make people understand how limiting and self-defeating and unexamined life can be. Unexamined life, I really like that.
So do I.
Unexamined. Examine your life. Get close.
Question it. Challenge
Microscopic.
And I had someone use the term with me, how do I respectfully challenge someone? My response to them was, not challenge them is disrespectful.
Yeah. Actually, my wife Joanna's going through this just now. She's
Hi, Joe.
always thought
Hi,
about
Joe.
herself being in the gender, like female role in a business, and always thought of herself maybe as a victim in this. But she has completely flipped that now and
Good.
challenges and walks in, sees a guy go
Because she's
into,
listening to the Simple Minds podcast.
goes into.
Shout out.
My wife's doing the same.
Oh, she's doing the same.
No, it's amazing. Goes into
I'm loving
meetings,
this.
like sees a guy walk
Listen to
in,
this podcast and challenge the world.
sees a guy go into a meeting, and then we'll get
Beginning.
up and just go in and say, or not even go in during the meeting. She'd be respectful in that part, but she can see that as and challenges it and tells them.
She's telling them they're all wearing navy blue shirts when they're all wearing black.
Is black a colour though, Conrad?
Oh, you
Let's
want
not
to
go
get into
there.
colours again?
Anything else to
Flashback
summarise,
to-
Mike?
Socrates was sentenced to death for questioning. By the way,
Yeah, which is the
He
path
was killed
forward.
for it.
So that's the path forward.
Metaphorically and
he was killed
and
for it.
physically.
Killed for being a philosopher. So there you go. So
There you
if you
go.
want to die, think. No.
No, question.
Well, you are going to die.
So if you want no
So you might as well
Instagram
think.
followers, stop.
Do you like that one?
So what was that? If we are going to die,
You are going to
so
die,
think.
so think.
I like it. That could be Nike's new slogan.
Moving on, Conrad.
Yeah, so I've picked a topic that's pretty close to heart. I mean, I've run an organisation for a while now, or a business for a while, with staff.
Well, you are an entrepreneur, so
I might not be a real one, according to Matt, though. So for fake or real entrepreneurs,
Are you a 1%,
go-
Conrad?
What, in the real or fake realm?
He's at point one.
Depends. Whatever, however you want to look at it. Are you a 1%er?
He's in a league
I
of his
think, I
own.
think he is. He is.
I think you actually might be.
Thanks, mate. I think.
Therefore,
All right, let's go.
You are.
So, Jeff Bezos, the wealthiest man on the planet, what, $120 billion humbly made. Or humbly made. Just being a reseller.
What's his background, Conrad? For people that don't know Jeff Bezos.
To tell you the truth, I don't know much about Jeff Bezos other than that he's the man that started Amazon, and again another garage startup with.
Do you know when he took world's richest man over Gates?
Was it last year? I think it was last year, but
Wasn't there, there was
honestly,
some, there was
it was
some,
really close. It was
some
last
change
year.
in the Amazon setup that
Accounting,
suddenly
yeah.
made the
But,
wealth
so
go up.
he's gone like from 100 million to 120 real quick, right? So I believe it happened in the last 12 months, maybe 18 months at a stretch. Mate,
think it was
whether you got
something
120 or 100 million dollars, let's be honest.
Give or take.
You're not going to be crying over spilt milk either.
I
way.
think he finally told everyone how many customers he actually had on it, and so they
On
were
Amazon Prime.
able to do some form of
really?
forward projection off
Yeah.
the basis of how many recurring,
It's ridiculous,
how many
right?
people versus the sales, like how many people are probably going to buy more from that. I think that might have been the trigger that helped them. To
And Amazon
adjust
are fully
number.
implanted now in Australia, are they not?
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
As effective as last year. But yeah, so Bezos is the world's richest man, $120 billion. I listened to a piece on LinkedIn about him when he was interviewed at a convention in Germany, and just recently. And if I could honestly find it, it would be absolutely amazing because it just made me want to sit up and listen to his thoughts on life and leadership within a business. He grew Amazon, I think he said back in 2010 they had 30,000 employees, and he's gone from 30,000 to over 80,000 inside the last, 5 years. That's how quick that business has grown.
80,000 employees.
Sorry, I lied to you. 30,000 to over 300,000
Yeah.
employees in the last 5 years.
So as a background, he went to Princeton.
That's 1/3 of the population of Perth.
Yeah,
FYI.
Fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
it is. So he went to Princeton.
Does he meet with every one of them?
Yeah,
one-on-one.
One-on-one. He does one. He gets to
second.
it every decade. Yeah. So he was a double degree in electrical engineering and computer science. He worked on Wall Street in a variety of related fields for about 8 years, and then
See, he
founded
did the hard
Amazon.
work.
So he
Did the hard work
was
first.
Wall Street, was he?
He was.
How old is
He
he?
was a banker.
He was born in. He's 54.
Wow.
Yeah, 566,000 employees of 2000, but he told me, well, he did tell me.
Personally.
He rang me up and told me. He didn't tell me, he told me the other day.
In a dream.
He texted you.
Well,
Bruce Wayne.
He told me that.
He made a post on Instagram, which he told me.
See, I believe people talk to me.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go.
So his take on work-life balance. I'd love to open the topic by just asking you guys.
So was
you're self-employed, right?
what was his
Yes.
take on it?
There was no such thing.
I'd like to ask you guys for your takes on. I mean, I know you've read the article, so you know how we said, but. This has been an ongoing debate for me in the office, and it's been a massive ongoing debate and a challenging one at that. So I will let you know how I see work-life balance. I believe you can't live without work. All right?
I think it's a social justice push to I don't believe in it. I believe in it.
In the structure that has been put, I don't believe in it. I don't believe you can leave work at 5 o'clock.
I think it's a corporate tool for them to say we're doing the right thing by addressing the fact that
the family situation and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, and even the act of addressing it means that they're producing it.
Yeah.
So there is a divide between your home life.
So you don't agree with it?
I don't agree with that.
I've never agreed with it. I think they both exist and they can exist in a fluctual
Well, they
state.
have to, don't they? For unity, I think they do.
You two guys have got staff and you've been in businesses. Where do you sit with work-life balance? How does it play out in here?
Do any of you guys have it as part of your documentation, work-life balance? Is there a chapter in your...
So my guys can work from home. They can work on the weekends. I've got one working from Thailand at the moment. I believe that's where he is. So yeah, I'm totally flexible. I don't believe in balance. I believe in flexibility.
I personally, well, in my business, we've tried a series of different things over time, from running 4-day weeks at longer periods of time to see what it would do for people's balance and if it made any effect. But look, there's nothing written into any of my contracts or anything at this point. We typically work a standard week, but
which is what, 38 hours?
Yeah, roughly a 38-hour, 40-hour week. I don't police it, so it's...
Do you pay overtime?
No. I don't pay any overtime. If we're busy at some stage, tough. Likewise, if someone needs to go to a doctor's appointment, I virtually never say no to anything.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the output and performance, or if something significant, and that is the only time if the output and performance has an issue, then that anything might come up. So if someone went to 7 doctor's appointments in 1 week, but they crushed their week, fine. I wouldn't even care or notice. But if they missed appointments like with clients, or there was an impact to them taking that time, I would then have a problem, and then I'd be going, oh, hang on, you missed this, you did that, you changed it.
So that's flexibility. How do you view work life?
So what? Yeah. So then
you're a family man,
in my
right?
business, in my family, well, it doesn't exist. So I don't dream of going on holiday. I dream of going on holiday with my laptop, being able to be connected with work and business and be able to do that more often if that's what I want to do. I see it as choice. So my view is you can never...
So that's how you see it. How do you think your staff see it?
Ooh. Can we bring one into us?
They don't have the choice. They're not in a situation where they have the choice. They can make certain decisions. Like if they need to be somewhere or do something, I'll always work it out. I actually don't say no to almost any leave requested as well. And I've had multiple situations in the last 2 years.
So do they believe when they leave here, no more work exists? Or are they working at home?
But opposite to that, when they're here, does their life not exist?
Yeah.
Okay. No, their life exists here.
Do you allow them to use mobile
That's what I hate.
phones?
Yep. That's what I hate
Social
about
media's fine.
Well, look, we do social media, right? So, like, I can't, like, a lot of people like cut off social media, like websites on their servers. Like, we're on it all day long.
That would be a mistake.
I do not.
That would be a mistake.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want all day long. And traditionally, there has been a few that won't even check their phone, but now we do have. Most people will be a little bit active in the evening or weekend when needed, but not all the time. But just my expectation is they're somewhat connected or available if need be for something. But really, we don't.
You tested that?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see everything like easily through all our systems, and I know what's going on like very easily. And so
What's
as far
the
as
latest a staff member's responded to you outside of traditional work hours?
look, It probably comes down to when I would communicate with them, but I've seen stuff happen 11 o'clock at night or through the weekend, like whatever needs to happen. However, that's rare. It's not common, they actually have what I consider quite comfortable hours. And it's not very often that I have to sort of ask them to step it up. I actually don't. They're more likely to do it themselves.
Do you shackle them when they come in and just let them face the wall and just sort of play things in front of them?
Play things like...
Oh, sorry, I've gone back to the allegory of the cave for a second.
No, I don't. But I also see that they have a very different situation to me. And I think all of work-life balance is about perspective. Because like I dream of being...
Everything's perspective, though.
Well, I dream of being able to work to my last breath. And that will be very different to the way I work today. But I like the activity of...
Yeah, we discussed that last week, right?
Yeah.
But do you think the whole point of work-life balance is dividing the two?
No, I don't believe there is. This is what I wanted to try and see.
But that's what they've been trying to do, I believe.
And I believe that's how most employees see it.
Like they look forward to Friday, they hate Monday.
Friday.
Yeah.
What that is.
I just posted it Friday on my Insta because I enjoy having a podcast on Friday.
You're right, I do.
Depends what you look at. It's all perspective, right? And then like the same thing, you go to the gym, you could be talking to a client or you could just be talking to the next guy. Who cares? It depends on your perspective, how you look at things. I don't think you can split it down the middle either because
But
even
it's not
in
how
industrial...
you see it, it's how do your staff see it?
But look, it's a big fucking problem. You're outside the cave, we're outside the cave, and...
So we are all outside the cave. He was swimming in the middle somewhere before.
Nah, we're outside. I don't believe
We're
it
outside the cave. We're not down the river like...
I don't believe it
creating
exists
a dam.
either.
Like, no, we're outside the cave.
But the conditioning does exist, and it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge I have, and we've been talking about it. I think you still have as well, Matt, and you probably would have too, Conrad. As much as you promote those type of methodologies.
Without a doubt. I know what I've got. I still believe my guys think work-life balance is leave at 5, see you later.
Well, the biggest challenge is no one takes responsibility and accountability for themselves.
That's it.
And then the trust wavers. So we do all those things too, and we're trying to build a business which is, I guess,
something happens to them.
Coined new age, right? Yet there are actions and behaviors and habits that happen that challenge us to... It's almost like this dark gravity center that you get forced to go towards the old methodologies, which is the strict 40-hour clock on, clock off. Because you give them the freedom and the flexibility.
And they take advantage of it.
And they take advantage. And there's been a big challenge for myself this week, actually, to be honest.
We've had a couple of conversations.
We have on this, so it's interesting. I don't believe it exists. I believe it's one. How your personal life is how you show up in work, and how your work life is how you show up in your personal. Because if you go home after a shitty day at work, you're going to take that home. You're going to whinge and bitch to your partner for the next hour and a half, and then you're like, oh, this again, and then vice versa. If you have a shitty home life, you're going to bring that into work. I had a couple situations this week where some people are like, I've had a rough week, and then they're taken out on others in the office, and it's like, it's just not on. It's connected. It's one. And it depends on your personal situation and where you want to go. If you want to whinge and bitch about being X, Y, and Z, and you're not willing to put in the effort, then you don't have any right.
Well, I think you've given a fairly textbook answer there. So,
Jeez,
yeah, and that's in a bad way.
Well,
no, I mean it's exactly what
swag.
Jeff,
Word for word.
Jeff Bezos said. So I think he's got a very good memory. So Jeff says he believes the work-life balance is a debilitating phrase. He believes it hinders more than it helps.
And this is the English language. It's a phrase. I mean, this is the whole definition of what...
We've given it so much meaning.
Corporates have, I think.
Advertising has.
So instead of that, he prefers to refer to it as a circle. And he uses the term, like, he goes, when I'm happy at home, I'm more energized at work, and when I'm energized at work, I'm more happy at home. He says it happening together.
Exactly. He's reading Jeff Bezos.
Well, I'm quoting the article I mean, from Business Insider earlier this week. So, it is something that it was actually circulated in our office chatter group, and I thought, great share. I didn't share it. Shane shared it, my business partner. Shout out, Shano. Well done for taking some of the heat on this one. But
what does Shane think about work-life balance? What's his take on it?
He's a machine, mate.
Machine.
It's all balanced to him.
Good.
If I'm happy at home, I come into the office with tremendous energy, said Jeff. And if I'm happy at work, I come home with tremendous energy.
I like that part of the
You never
article.
want to be that guy, and we all have a co-worker who's that person who, as soon as they're coming into a meeting, they drain all the energy out of the room. You want to come into the office and give everyone a kick in their step.
I like it.
Yeah, and that's what I like to think I am. I like to think that when I come in, it's bang, bang, bang.
But the
high
key,
fives, everyone. Let's kick.
I like
it.
to think I'm that too.
the key is to ensure that you're
Well, let's
doing.
ask him. We all your staff here. We can ask him.
Do you high five everybody when you go in the
At
office?
times I
I
can
do.
do. Not
I
every
do
day.
often
not
a
every
fist
day.
bump or
Fist
a high
bump.
five on the way through. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, I jump on a trampoline, pound my chest.
Pound your chest.
Fucking Tony
Get up
Robbins.
the yoga.
Who said that, Martin? I wonder if he pounded his chest before his presentation the other day.
He's got a big chest.
Come
Yeah.
on, Conrad.
That's right.
I was asking because he said he was going to do that.
Walk into the office. I'm not fake. Boom. But
But yeah,
it's a big challenge. I mean, you've got
because
to
we are one.
you've got to enjoy
And we
what
are many.
you've got to enjoy what you do. But it is the shackles, right? It is the illusion on the wall that you are to switch off at 5, and it's a big battle that I've had over
You
the
like the
last few
time?
months, right? Yeah, it's like, you know, a lot of people expect to work from 9 to 5 and yet progress in their career as well, and they have that expectation.
What? Where is their investment?
Zero.
Zero.
They expect, or they expect the business or whoever to invest in them to progress their career. But then there's the challenge of like overtime is, and the thought of it being paid and unpaid raises lots of toxic discussions and situations too.
Not in our office.
Not in your office.
No.
So how do you manage it?
So we've written it into our agreements, and apparently you are allowed to write that reasonable overtime
Yeah.
is expected.
That's what's
and
written
we've
in my
defined
agreement.
what reasonable means, which is in excess of 20 hours. That's what we define it. So if
week?
it's regularly, no, the month. So if they have done more than 20 hours of overtime in that month, then we can consider the difference.
And I think as well, it's not condoning kind of like overworking and like you've got to have your escapisms as well. Like, and it comes down to you as an individual. The big challenge is like, yeah, we offer that flexibility. Like you can come in at 9, you can come in at 7, you can come in at 6,
Yeah,
and
we do
you
that.
can leave whatever. Yet, you know,
Rarely do they do it.
rarely does it happen. And then there's whinging and bitching about X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, what do you do?
But are you measuring outcome? Like, is that
Yeah,
is that the number one?
So we do
factor
a weekly sprint every week of what needs to be completed by the end of that week, and we give that to the team, and then we don't care how it gets, you know, whatever it is, and it's a reasonable, fair figure. So you know, a reasonable and fair expectation on the amount of work to be completed. You know, but it comes down to, you know, again, that individualism of questioning things and taking control of your own life. And I don't know how Bezos with 300,000 employees.
600,000.
Yeah.
600.
Double that.
600,000.
Okay, so half the population.
doubled in the
of
last
that.
15 minutes.
Yeah,
It
it just went to 650.
Think about that.
He just
right?
rang me.
Half of us
He
work.
said, stop misquoting him.
Takes a
He
joke.
was 566
He's listening
last year.
live.
He's listening live.
He's the richest person in the world listens to us live. Everyone else has to wait 3
He's
weeks.
part of the office.
Hey Jeff.
Hey Jeff,
Hi,
sup?
Jeffrey.
Sup, Jeff?
Sup, Jeff?
Fist
But-
bump.
Wake up, Jeff.
But there is an element of over. Do you believe there's still an element of overworking,
Do I believe there's an element of overworking?
like overdoing it?
No.
Yes.
No?
It depends
in a
on-
way,
Well, I don't believe in my office.
because there's got to be a point where you lack effectiveness, and a lot of people
I
think
think
that
that's
they work more
because
I
it's-
think
time.
that, I mean,
but not
obviously
effective.
that is measurable, but do I believe it exists in my office? No.
Because there is some research that apparently you can just be as productive in 30 hours.
Efficiency and
versus-
effectiveness. Yes,
Yes.
very, very true. Very true.
But it starts with attitude,
But
right?
we've done that in
Oh, that-
basketball, right? We've
yeah,
taken off
yeah.
nearly 20-25% of minutes in some cases in some players. And their statistical numbers either haven't changed negatively or actually ahead. So I do believe human beings can get more efficient
But it
without doubt.
comes down to the individual though.
course it does.
And knowing that person's capabilities, that person, how they're thinking.
But it's not even about their capabilities. It's more their mindset than their capability, because mindset drives capability.
Yep.
Do you believe?
I believe.
So on that, I'd like to hand back to Justin. Thanks, Jeffrey, for your input today.
Wow. So in summary, we just don't believe work-life balance exists.
Yeah, I don't believe it exists.
It's one. It's
It's one,
interconnected.
I think it's a bit of a
both.
ploy, a corporate ploy, I think.
It's jargon.
You take control of
empower the individual to live their life within the constraints or the structures they are needing to achieve what they're wanting.
Well, that's it, right? Because it's somewhat their choice. It's how they expect their life to be too, and that's
Yeah.
so when there's a disconnect. That's when there's an issue.
Yeah.
The person that works a lot of long hours but expects to and understands why they choose to do that is in a different situation
Yeah.
to the guy who only wants to work 37.
And can you achieve your daily workload inside a shorter time frame? Completely plausible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because
Myth
we
busted.
circulated the content before. I did a quick search for some articles, and this one was come up with the 5 lies of work-life balance. So we'll wrap up.
I didn't write this
quickly.
article.
No. This is written by
Jeff Bezos. Thanks, Jeff.
Doreen Saint Fleur.
I would never have guessed that name.
What's her background, mate?
That's perspective.
HR
You're right.
specialist.
Of course it is.
But these are interesting.
I'm dialing out.
Is there a lead magnet attached to it?
Lie number
This
one.
is the lead magnet.
No,
Sorry,
give it a chance.
That's another creative career that's shit.
The less hours you work, the happier you will be, is lie number one.
Yep.
So the less you work, the happier you'll be. Would we agree with that?
Agree with it.
Yeah.
The perfect 50-50 split is possible between work and life. It's a lie.
No.
That's a weird.
That's correct.
That's
It's
a
a lie.
It's a
Yes.
lie. Yes.
I don't even understand that.
As in, like, you can't have you clock off at 5, no work until you come in till 9 every single day for the rest of your life.
Well,
Doesn't exist.
given the fact that you work 80% of your life, the 50-50 doesn't exist anyway.
Yeah.
That means you have no life, yeah.
What works for me will also work for you.
Like,
That's what you're saying.
well,
That's what you're saying.
if people,
These are the lies.
These
You
are
can't
the
call
lies.
bullshit on the lies.
well, I agree with it then. I've had too much whiskey.
Oh, here we go. Actually, this is probably a topic for next week. The boss has it better than everyone else.
He thinks he
That sure
does.
is a lie.
That is a lie.
What are my entitlements?
Yeah.
Can I claim against my staff?
Oh,
You just had a good month. Yeah, what about the last 7? Where's my pay rise?
Where's your pay? What?
Yeah, where's my pay?
In my pocket. See ya.
I think that'd be a good.
That's a good topic.
one
Let's raise that next week.
for another one.
I'm abstaining. I don't really want to replace staff at the moment.
Line number 5. You're the only one who feels unbalanced.
It's from the
Not bad.
perspective of the boss, yeah.
You know, given that it was written by a HR person, I actually
Called what? Doreen, was it?
I might change my perspective.
Oh, here we
on
go.
it.
There's a bio. Doreen is a HR expert turned career development coach and blogger obsessed with teaching professionals how to unlock authentic and fulfilling careers through her articles,
wow.
digital products, and private coaching. In her free time, she enjoys reading self-help books, creating cocktails for her husband, mocktails for her daughter, and listening to Beyonce. This is a better bio than any of us have actually given us.
Is that Dorianne? Dorianne?
No, you're right. It is Dorianne.
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 We'll
Sorry,
link,
Dorianne.
We'll link her up.
Hey, Dorian.
I won't say anything bad about
Instagram.
Dorianne.
Well, we agreed with her lies.
I did, you know, hats off to you.
So if you think you've got a work-life balance, those lies are, bullshit. And or if you think you're...
No, those lies
you're
are
in a-
true.
Sorry, they're true. Yes.
By the way, this podcast was powered by
Half a bottle of whiskey.
And I think it certainly helped
Three-quarters
for
of
the
a bottle of
flow.
whiskey, mate. And I only had 2 glasses.
There's not a great deal left.
This must be one of the first podcasts I've actually felt a little bit tipsy.
Don't drink and drive.
You've had the bottle to your mouth. What are you talking about?
I'm Scottish, man. I'm Scottish. Come on.
Straight out of the bottle. That was good whiskey.
Good podcast.
That was a good
Yeah.
podcast. Cheers,
Must be
gents.
because Marco and Travis were here.
Yeah, you're
That's what we
fair
say.
call.
You know, we
Fair
say that
call.
every time whoever's not here.
Yeah.
You know, I've been listening to one when I wasn't here just recently.
Yeah, we
That
talk
was
about
great.
you a
It was
lot.
boring. I found myself talking over you guys to make it interesting.
That's because all you just want to hear you, mate. That's just
That's right.
We all do.
I
We
love
all
me.
do, Conrad.
There's no problems with my self-love, gentlemen.
We know no self-love issues there.
all right.
All right, let's leave it there.
Respect.
Episode 24 out.
We're out.
See ya.
Check, mate.